I am Matt, that is Chuck, and this is your edition for August 2026. So, if you don't know, this is our once a month show, or roughly a once a month show, where we talk about all the other stuff that we have been watching that we can't fit in our regular show. Today, we're talking about the latest season of the Game of Thrones adjacent show, House of the Dragon. We're talking about a new show on Apple TV Plus, Lucky, and we're going to be talking about probably one of the year's most successful movies, if you want to judge success by being actually good. Um, but first off, I guess we're going to start this episode a little bit differently. We're about halfway through the year, a little over halfway now. And so we're going to be talking about our favorite films of the year so far, the best films of 2026 so far. So, there have been a lot of contenders out there, a lot of popular favorites that I've seen out there. You've got your Obsessions of the world, you've got your Backrooms of the world, that have been hits this year, both hits critically and commercially. But yeah, I don't know, Chuck, why don't you start us off with your sort of just picks so far? I mean, this doesn't have to be anything formal or anything like that, just kind of
Yeah,
your what comes to mind when you think of, oh, what have been my favorite films of the past 6 months or so?
I'm gonna kind of sound very obvious, I guess, because it's very clearly for me anyway. Obsession, back rooms. I'm trying to think of. Like I admit I forgot to do my homework and really consider this question, so I'm gonna very briefly
Yeah.
go back through what we've talked about. Oh,
Yeah.
the drama.
The drama,
I
yep. That was
loved
on my list too.
loved the drama. Um, so like that's three that I got so far.
Yeah.
But like if any
Well, I
more
guess
occur
what
to
you
me, I could introduce them. Like, why don't you take it away?
well, I mean, one of the ones that's probably also on your list that is definitely on mine is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that
yeah.
was excellent. One of the ones that I don't believe you have seen yet, but one of the ones that definitely I've got on mine is The Furious, the martial arts movie. That was pretty fantastic. That was actually one that, after our initial conversation on our last watch list episode, I actually went and saw a second time in theaters because I couldn't deal with the idea of never being able to see it in theaters again. So I was like, I gotta go
That's a
see this one more
that's
time.
a valid concern.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, stop.
yeah,
Don't grab that.
that one, Obsession, of course. Yes,
Uh,
Obsession is also on my list. I wasn't quite as high on Backrooms as you or as many other people seem to be, but so I don't know if I'd throw that one on mine, personal one. But and
mhm.
then there are also those movies that kind of um, they're in that weird end of year, beginning of year limbo where some people consider them 2025 movies, some
Oh,
people consider them
exactly.
2026, but
I know
but
exactly
uh
what fits in that.
yeah,
Continue.
Cocoa.
Exactly.
Cocoa,
Because like
yeah.
that movie is incredible. That's the if I
Mhm,
have a number one for the year, it's that one.
mhm.
Especially in terms of what we've reviewed this year. But frankly, isn't it? It's crazy to me. There, a tentpole Christopher Nolan movie has came and went, and I am unmoved. You know what I
Same.
mean?
Hmm.
Everyone else is acting like this is his masterpiece. The I forget who did it. Oh, the Big Picture podcast. I don't listen to them, but they did a episode where they all broke down. This is a Ringer podcast, a Bill Simmons adjacent show. Like
Yeah.
you know who Chris Ryan is?
Yep, I'm aware of who. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So those motherfuckers did the most despicable thing I've ever heard of, which is make the most undefensible lists of the best Christopher Nolan movies I have ever seen. Like I can
What's
appre-
their number one? Do you remember?
well they all had their own the
Okay.
like but there wasn't a single like I don't agree with any of these people is the
Yeah.
problem. Like I just
It's
want to pull
like
this up so that you can appreciate the awfulness.
insomnia, like
Well, see,
that,
I rate Insomnia, but like they're putting things like Sean Fennessy, like has the Odyssey at his third best. Amanda has it at 1. Chris has it at 3. Like
yeah,
like
no,
they were putting Tenet like as high as like in the top 3, top 4. They have Dunkirk and like so low. They have Oppenheimer so high. Like the Prestige was at the bottom of all their lists, which is not
yeah,
something I will ever agree with. That's like
yeah.
easily my number
That's my
2.
one.
That's your one.
That's that's my one.
That's my number
Yeah,
2 to Memento. Like
yeah.
they put Memento at the bottom of their lists.
Mhm.
Like I instantly lost all my respect that I ever had for them. As critics, because it's like their recency bias is crazy. And
Mhm.
but yeah, like that's our little sidebar on Nolan. It's not that
Yeah,
he's in a downfall, but it's like people are just afraid to say, "Hey, the guy made a mid movie. It
yeah,
happens." Like even Spielberg starts making shitty movies eventually. Not that the Odyssey was shitty. It's not what I'm saying, but dude, and have you been reading what Emily Wilson, the translator, that he based his script
oh,
off of? How like
yeah.
she
She's
is
come out against
oh
it.
dude,
Yeah,
she's going so hard. And it kind of like drove home, I guess a point to me. Just this is larger, and this is commentary on us, Matt. The the death of art and the emergence of criticism as its replacement. Criticism is supplanting the art it's criticizing.
yeah. I can see where people would think that, or I could see where that would be a theory because, we have, I mean, we on this show, we kind of jump on here and we just kind of spitball about movies for, an hour to an hour and a half. But there are certainly people out there who are like, here is my hour and a half long YouTube essay about like the way that women are treated in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, stuff like that. And I could definitely see where people look at stuff like that and they're like, this is the art.
Yeah,
This here is the art, as far as like, yes, I get that notion.
it, it's not Twin Peaks: The Return. It's my 15-hour long YouTube essay,
Yeah.
explaining it. That's really what's important here. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Invite yet? Because like for some reason that is the movie of the first half of the year for a lot of people.
Yeah, I hear that a lot of people like it. That's why I included it on the
Yeah,
the thing here, the picture here. And yeah, I've heard it's good. I haven't seen it personally. I heard that it's very different than what the trailer is selling. I mean, essentially if anybody's seen the trailer, it's basically selling the premise as like, oh, these people are inviting this other couple over because they want to have a foursome, basically. And I heard that that is not
ah,
the case. Like that is not the premise at all. And so that has me
really?
intrigued,
Yeah, because
basically.
I was
Yeah.
really like my interest was nil. Because I'm like, I've seen The Overnight. Why do I need this? Who cares
Yeah.
if it's based off a French film? But there might be more to it, and just like there might be more to like the amount of attention coming towards Nirvana the show, Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, or whatever the fuck it
Yep.
is. Like I really want to check that out now, just because that sounds like a fascinating experience, and the story behind its production is interesting. And yeah, but it's been an interesting year for me personally, because yeah, the once again it's like the horror movies of the moment are really what get me going, and
Yeah.
and really get
And the
me in
small
the
movies,
small movies.
like
Yeah,
this has been a bad year for blockbusters. Like
for real.
uh yeah, and so it's interesting now that we're in a time and place where small movies are kind of taking over and we'll see if that trend continues, but I mean, other than the Odyssey, the Odyssey has both the critical and commercial aspect, and everything else either only has one of those things or the other, it seems like, where it's like, okay, we just got done talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's going to make $1 billion, but it's not critically fulfilling. It's not going to, you know, nobody's going to be thinking about that movie a year from now,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's kind of where we're at.
When like I will also throw out some small, I guess, increased appreciation for Project Hail Mary. I was
Yeah.
lukewarm on it, but
Mhm.
I love that kind of movie. Just
Mhm.
like I love watching The Martian or Apollo 13. Like I love any story set in space where it's someone just trying to survive. Like I love NASA adjacent content. The Right Stuff is one of my most rewatchable movies that I could ever. Have you ever seen that movie? Put it fucking
Oh
on.
yeah.
It's so good.
Mhm.
It's so good.
Awesome.
That cast is
Mhm.
great. But if I have like one last takeaway before we move on to,
Yeah.
I think we have finally, Matt, we have finally reached a point where, and I think like this is a larger commentary about the world, but things or art and certain directors, filmmakers, what have you, we're finally getting to the point where they are immune to the culture war. You know what I mean?
Mm.
The outcome and the success of a movie for once was separate from the discourse of that culture war. As much as they were feeding into it and against it, audiences largely just went to that movie and liked it. And there's no one who can like point at that and really win the arguments that they've been having for the last 10 years. So like I commend it for that, because I might be declaring victory too soon. The monster might not be dead, but I enjoyed seeing the the coherence in how the people at large accepted it, even though I wasn't in sync with it, completely. Because I would much rather just go back and watch the Armand Asante version, because
Mhm.
that's the one I have affection for. And it's everywhere. I love that people are revisiting it and coming back to that because of the Christopher Nolan movie. But
Yeah,
it's
no, I think you're definitely right. It's the Odyssey is just a like ironclad, like nothing is gonna stop this train, basically
yeah,
type movie. And in some respects, I mean, to a much lesser degree, Obsession, because when Obsession came out, you had those sort of like bottom of the barrel like internet like YouTube people who are trying to like start that conversation or they were trying so desperately to have a unique take, but nobody was really having it. And basically that take was like the take of like, this I find Obsession morally reprehensible because of the themes of rape, because he is he is raping her, and those people tried to like put that, prop that argument up, but nobody was having it. Everybody was just going to have a fun time at this horror movie, and
yeah,
nobody was gonna let that argument have any breathing room, and so yeah,
yeah.
I agree with you on that.
Because I think what those kind of people are like missing in their race to make a point is that they are missing what Barker's intent is ultimately, which is that yeah, it's like this is a despicable scenario, and the people involved in it, you know, aren't necessarily good people, even though bad things are happening to them, or like especially if it's being done by them. It's like, and we can't just have everyone be lily white and perfect. Like I went back and we were Angie and I rewatched Undertone last night,
Hmm.
and I really didn't like it the second time around, and
Yeah.
I really didn't give a shit about it.
Hmm.
Like, and I didn't really appreciate what it was trying to say or do, and but I'm sure that there's like 1,000 think pieces that could have been launched from it.
Mhm.
Especially around like like, oh, dude, like, fuck. Especially with that case in the news lately, about that lady that had postpartum psychosis and murdered her children.
Yeah, I
She's in
saw that.
yeah, she's on trial right
Mhm.
now. So it's like his that's what undertone is a lot about. It's about a demon that makes women kill their kids,
Mhm.
and that's fucked up, and it, but more to the point, it's like I'd much rather just meet a movie on its merits as opposed to like, how can I make this a vehicle for my agenda? And I just can't get behind those kinds of people or that kind of
Yeah.
thinking anymore. I Because of my job, I have to be more objective,
Mhm.
in general before my opinion seeps in. But I have a better appreciation for other people's positions than I did
Yeah.
a long time ago, especially when it comes to movies, because I was one of those militant film bros that would be deeply offended that someone enjoyed 50 Shades of Grey more than Nymphomaniac. I'm like, what's wrong with you? One of those is art,
Yeah.
the other is slop.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean it's good though. It's good to talk about this stuff and it's good to reflect on sort of the
Yeah,
half year that was. And yeah, well, going forward, I mean, we're right around the corner from sort of the awards season, and so everything is going to kick into high gear here pretty soon, and I'm sure that our lists are going to fill themselves out a little bit more. And so yeah, looking forward to that.
yeah, it, heck. Something in the watch list today might be wind up on my end of year list. You never know. But let's get it started with Lucky. Is this another grand entry in Apple TV's canon of excellent streaming?
You know, this show, I was drawn to it because it's from Jonathan Tropper, who is the creator of the show Banshee. I think that was his first
Mm,
show. And one of my personal favorite shows of the last couple of years, Warrior, the martial arts show Warrior. And this thing it couldn't be as like far from that show though, where it's basically the premise is Anya Taylor-Joy plays a basically a girl who was brought up by her father as like a professional um, thief, basically, or a professional doer of crimes, where he basically raised her, showed her the ropes of how to steal from people, showed her the ropes of all, basically doing like uh, small sort of no
confidence games?
yeah, confidence game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a con man basically. And at the point that we're at when the show starts, her and her boyfriend have just pulled off a $10 million heist and they are celebrating their victory in Las Vegas in a Las Vegas hotel room. And she wakes up the next morning and the boyfriend is gone and her money is gone. And that's kind of where the show starts.
Interesting.
And
Oh, so
it's
it's kind of like a female Parker movie.
Yes, yeah, it's a female sort of yeah, it's like a female heist show, or a crime show, and the pilot episode so far, we've gotten 4 episodes so far, and the pilot is the highlights because you can tell the pilot basically plays out as one extended chase sequence through the various casinos and hotels of Las Vegas, of downtown Las Vegas. And you can tell they actually filmed there, which is really cool because if you know anything about Vegas, it's like a really hard place to film. There's constantly people like
Yeah,
walking around the casinos, and so that is really cool. Just she's being chased through the casinos of Vegas, and it slows down a bit in episode 2, which is it's really the 2 episodes are really like juxtaposed, where she spends the whole second episode basically in one location, and so it's this weird sort of change in pace and change in feel, but the show has kind of gotten back on track. It's it's a decent show. I wouldn't say this isn't like upper echelon like Apple stuff, like um uh I don't know, For All Mankind or the new
Severance or
Vin
Widow's Bay. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
but it's decent enough. This is like mid-tier Apple TV stuff. It's just going to be a limited series. This isn't like
Okay.
a thing where,
So kind of like
it
Blackbird. That was just a one and done.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's gonna be 7 episodes, I believe, and then it's kind of done. And so it's a decent enough watch, I would say.
Right on. I
Yeah.
may have to give it a shot. You know, the
Mhm.
yeah, whenever Severance is back on the air, I'll probably get Apple again and find a way to watch it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because I don't know. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. I'm not one of the haters.
She's good, yeah.
Yeah.
She's really good in this. It's sometimes it sometimes is, I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy has a very unique look. And there are times when she is on screen in this show where I just get like lost in the way that I'm like, wow, that is a very strange looking person. She's beautiful. I mean, no doubt, she's a beautiful
She,
woman, but
she
it,
reminds
but
me of the creature from Splice.
yes, yes, yeah. Her eyes are very set, set far apart, and yeah, she just has a very unique look to her. And so there are times you're watching this show and you're like, that is a very unique looking person. But she's good. She's great in the show.
Right on. All right. Now, probably have a mixed bag on the next one here. Because
Yeah.
House of the Dragon season 3 is here. I have to confess I'm not caught all the way up, but there's
Yep.
a reason for that. After a very strong start with the Battle of the Gullet, I was so fucking down. I was just so ready for shit to start popping. And then it just devolved back to the very plotting and plotting plot and poorly considered and executed dialogue. Like this show, like no matter which season we're talking about, is devoid of the subtlety and the ambiguity that we got from the first thrust of Game of Thrones when they had actual books to draw from, and and did a good job of of utilizing that as as a starting point for the show. People just walk around saying exactly what they think, feel, and what they're gonna do, so it's not exciting when it actually happens. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like everything is just so blatantly broadcast that my grand takeaway after a while was I don't need to watch this anymore. I don't know if you stuck with it.
I have, yeah. So let me tell you this. I am caught up with whatever episode it is they're on now. I think six or
Yeah,
seven
that
of the
sounds
of
about
the
right.
and I'll just tell you this, it does not get better.
Good. Okay.
You're exactly right. That Battle of the Gullet episode, it was kind of jarring because from what I've read, that was supposed to be the finale of the last season,
And
and
it
they basically,
feels like it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah.
they had to push it because of like the writer's strike and stuff. And that was a really interesting way to start the season off, because that was basically, yeah, your big, people always talk about with Game of Thrones, the episode 9 of every season, where episode 9 with Game of Thrones, episode 9 was always like the big battle episode every season, and instead they like took that and like placed it in episode 1 of this season. And it was a strong start, definitely. And yeah, it's pretty much gone exactly how you say up until whatever episode we're on now. I think the only one left is actually the finale. I believe the finale is tomorrow from when we film this. And so um yeah, it's pretty, yeah, it's just gotten very dull. It's gotten very like, exactly what the characters fit a little too neatly into their archetypes. And so you do know exactly what is going to happen. Like, that this guy is kind of like the spaz guy, where he's going to, he thinks he has like a control over his emotions, but he really just kind of spazzes out all the time. I'm talking very specifically about oh God, what's his name? The guy who's spending his all his time in is it Tumbleton? The
Oh,
with the kid who he wants to supplant or he wants to put as like the
yeah, yeah,
king.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because he sent the fake son. Like, is it Daron? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, it's just like you know what all these characters are going to do before they do it. There's really no surprise. They fit too neatly into their archetypes. I don't know why they keep the Rhaenyra and what's her name? Her
Allison's.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, her the Rhaenyra and Alicent storyline has just kind of hit a brick wall, and they're just kind of doing the same thing over and over now, where she's like, you are going to be under house arrest and you're going to like it. And then Alicent goes and does something against Rhaenyra's wishes, but Rhaenyra never actually does anything about it. And um, the one bright spot I would say where it got a little more interesting, but then it kind of went back to the usual formula was that episode, I think it was episode 3, where they did this kind of neat thing where they structured the episode, like the editing of the episode around like these bell chimes. And do
Mm.
you know what I'm talking about? Did you
Yeah,
watch that episode?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made it that
Yeah,
far. Yeah.
where she was the whole episode was surrounding Rhaenyra for the most part. And they structured the episode around these every time the scene would change to a new scene, there were like these bell chimes, and it highlighted how like frazzled she was and how like she's like, okay, I need to move from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, and she you could tell it was like overwhelming her, and that was cool. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool. A cool framework for an episode, but then they just went back to the usual stuff. It was like a one-off thing.
See, what I don't think this show is going to be brave enough to do, just like they weren't brave enough to do it with Danny. Like, we're not going to get fat, evil Rhaenyra out of the show,
Mhm.
like in the books. Because, like, I hate to forecast this, but her downfall is fucking coming.
Mhm.
But they haven't made her half of as despicable from what I've seen, as she needs to be. Because, yeah, like, because is there one more season of this coming?
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe we're getting one more, and yeah, they have announced that the fourth season will be the last.
So have they set up got like the uncle? What's Rhaenyra's uncle's name again? Is that Damon?
Yes, I believe so.
And
Yeah, I
then
mean I don't think they've set up really anything as far as like I said, I mean the show seems like it's kind of spinning in its
yeah,
wheels.
because they're spinning their wheels to the next big like popcorn moment,
Yeah.
essentially, which is this fucking which I want to see. It's like it's just a matter of what I got to go through to get there. And
Yeah.
maybe it's happening in this finale. Maybe they're punting it off to season 4. But it's this crazy climactic duel between uh, Damon and Damon the one eye guy, if I'm getting his name right. The because it's the greens and the blacks. They have this fucking dragon duel over a lake near Harrenhal. It's
Yep.
fucking metal. I won't spoil how it ends, but it's awesome. That's all you need to
Mhm.
know. And
You know what?
that's
They might be leading to that because he isn't it he's kind of spent the majority of this season, the one eye guy at Harrenhal, and I get the feeling now he's finally like he's basically like under the spell of that witch that's
yeah.
like hanging out there, and I get the feeling now that he's finally sort of
Okay.
gonna fuck off and finally leave that place, or he's gonna try to leave, and then yeah, and then Matt Smith is gonna show up or something.
And
um
and I've been seeing things like I saw a picture. I don't remember seeing it myself in the episode. Did you catch the Green Man?
no, no,
Yeah, no. There is straight up a shot when the dragon seeds are all chilling, like near Harrenhal waiting for Damon to show up so they can kill him, and he never does. Where a guy just like looks over at some trees, and there's like a tree person just standing there camouflaged against the trees. For some reason they
okay.
are like I don't know why in this show specifically we're seeing so many of the green men be present in it. Because I think even in the original series there was hints at a green man being visible, but it's like why are they being so secretive with that specific kind of thing without directly acknowledging it? Like
Yeah, I don't know.
how is it ever going to factor into the story?
I don't know because yeah, they seem to be they seem to be keeping that stuff on the fringes, like the more like supernatural stuff, because they've also been doing a lot of hinting at oh what's her name the girl who has visions, the one who's locked up in
Oh,
the tower
yeah,
with Alice.
Allison's
Yeah,
daughter. I forget her name.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are doing a lot of stuff with her like visions in this season where in the last episode she was doing like needlework. She was doing sewing and then Allison picks up the thing that she was sewing and it's like an entire like tapestry of Danny and with
Oh.
with like the fire, the shot of Danny like sitting in the flames when the eggs first hatch in Game of
Oh
Thrones.
wow.
It's basically that. And so and you would never, if you didn't know what you were looking for there, I guess you would probably never know that that's what that was. But so they're keeping that stuff kind of like at Easter egg status,
Yeah.
basically, where it's like, okay, if you're a fan of the books or you're a fan of the Game of Thrones show, you probably caught that, but it's basically been all relegated to like Easter eggs,
Okay.
you know.
Because who knows what the fucking grand vision's gonna be? Like,
Hmm.
we're still like, because after this show ends, of course, we will always have a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but there's gonna be that Jon Snow movie is back in the conversation again,
Yeah,
which
maybe. Yeah, who knows?
I really don't give a shit about that. I don't know. Like, eventually, I think we're gonna hit a point. Well, oh yeah, and there's gonna be a. Was it a Robert's Rebellion thing, or was it the Aegon the Conqueror? It was. I think both have been discussed. Maybe
Okay.
not.
Yeah, I honestly, unless I see set photos from something being
Yeah,
filmed,
it's out of
I
your
just
head. Yeah,
yeah, I don't even pay attention because there have been so many like stops and starts with Game of Thrones related stuff and yeah, I could care less until I see like a screenshot of them filming in Eastern Europe somewhere or something like that. Um, but yeah, I think once House of the Dragon is over, I probably will find myself pretty checked out of. I mean, I'll come back for Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but Night of the Seven Kingdoms never really struck me as the show where they're like, this is our next big Game of Thrones thing. It's always been kind of this side story, which
it
is what it
it
should be.
should
They
be.
shouldn't yeah,
Yeah,
they shouldn't be trying to make it the next big like blockbuster Game of Thrones show. But as to what that will be, I don't know, you
yeah.
know.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
A lot of things can happen, especially Craig Mazin writing a comedy about detect the sheep that solve a murder. Because that's what blew my mind was seeing his name pop up in the credits. Like I am a, like while we transition to Bismarck, I've been staying with my sister and her family. They have seven, children who have very limited exposure to screen time, highly regulated environment. But when they
Yeah.
do get to watch a movie and they like it, they just keep on asking to watch that movie again, especially if they can share it to someone who hasn't seen it, like me. So I had expressed some interest in this when we saw the trailer for it, but it didn't quite align with us to be able to make a feature for it, and it wouldn't have made a good feature review anyway. But
Mhm.
Craig Mazin, wrote this like it's been a dream project of his. He has wanted to make this into a movie for like since for like 20 years. It's like he's been like trying to get this script for this thing produced. And finally in 2026 it happens. It's got an amazing cast for as like doofy and simple as this thing is, because it's just about you have this sheep herder played by Hugh Jackman who has a very simple life, and he's narrating as he writes a letter to someone who we don't know who it is yet. And in the evening, he reads to his sheep a horror, not a horror, like a murder mystery, like a Agatha Christie or like a Sherlock Holmes or just any old paperback you could possibly think of. And but the big reveal being the sheep understand English and love listening and trying to figure out what happens because he always ends it on a cliffhanger before he goes to bed. And they're like, "Oh my God, they were about to say who the murderer was. What the fuck?" And that's where you get this wonderful voice cast of people voicing these puppets and mostly CGI sheep. And he doesn't butcher his sheep, he just keeps them for the wool, so they have a very sheltered idea of what their existence is. And what you come to find out is that this guy kind of is living in his own little setting for a murder mystery story all of his own. And one morning he's just lying outside of his caravan dead. And the authorities show up, the authorities being our good friend Nicholas Braun playing a bumbling local cop, a constable. And and then people like Hong Chow, Emma Thompson show up. Patrick Stewart voices one of the sheep, like this really old one who's just like always yelling "murderer" at people. It's all good shit. But it's a very simple story. It's nothing groundbreaking. I do love me a talking animal movie, but like a lot like Babe, it does a very good job of articulating the pro animal, you know, pro care vegan point of view. Like if
Yeah.
Babe didn't make you, a vegetarian as a child, this movie should make you into one as an adult. Because one of the possible suspects for killing Hugh Jackman is a rival herder who's partnering up with a butcher. Because he wants to get Hugh Jackman's sheep maybe to butcher them, but they don't know what a butchering is. Like, because they do this thing as sheep where they just close their eyes, count to 10, and forget about something if it's uncomfortable or it distresses them. But there's one sheep who can't do that. So he's always like, "Oh no, guys, I don't." He understands things. He knows that when a sheep dies, it dies. It doesn't become a cloud. But that's what all the rest of them believe. So
Sure.
it's very poignant, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And
Yeah, it sounds like it's got like, surprisingly adult themes almost,
oh
like,
yeah,
death and stuff like that,
amongst the
talking about.
sheep, amongst the humans, it's completely just masterpiece theater level, intrigue, and like in small town drama, gossip shit. And Nicholas Braun carrying the experience as this bumbling cop who needs sheep to explain to him in their own way how to solve a crime. But yeah, a good diversion. It's on Amazon Prime. You can just check it out with your mom the next time you're home.
Yeah, I'm glad that what I saw this pop up on Amazon, I think it is, and I thought about watching it because I have heard good things, and I remember when we were back when this was coming out in theaters, and this had kind of popped up on the radar, and I personally was like, oh no, no, I'm
Yeah,
not, I can't do this, because you never know, with these types of movies if you're gonna get the next Paddington, or if you're gonna get like just like drivel, like Peter Rabbit. Do you remember the
oh
Dom
God,
Hall Gleason like Peter Rabbit movie from, I don't know, maybe six or
I
7 years
do.
ago at this point? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like you never know if you're gonna get Paddington or something like that, where it's like, okay, what is this gonna be good? Is this not gonna be good? And I'm glad that it turned out to be the former.
yeah, yeah. It's like it's not great. It's not bad. it's a reliable. You know exactly what you're getting. It won't offend your taste or sensibility, and it'll make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. You know, and
Mhm.
you'll laugh a few times. You know, it's the kind of small little movie that should have only cost like $30 million to make, but because it's so effects heavy and they have so many fucking celebrities in it, it cost 75 million. But
Jesus.
it doubled its budget at the box office. That's a
Okay,
like
good.
it's the kind of easy win Hollywood could just crank out, so that TBS could have something to have on, on a random Wednesday evening for the movie of the week or whatever. Like
Mhm.
it was nice to see this thing come out. It was nice to see Kyle Balda like do more with his talents other than make Minions movies. I think this was actually his first live action one. And I've gone on too long on it, but I did not expect to be as enthusiastic as I am. So
Sure. Mm.
yeah, it's a real quick watch list episode this week. But that's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. My life has been so chaotic, dude. And like
Yeah.
and the home I'm living in 5 days a week is so chaotic. I say, good night at 8 o'clock, and I just pass out because sensory overload and
Yeah.
information
Mhm.
overload. But it's been fruitful. Like I've started
Mhm.
writing again. Like
Good. Yeah.
I'm rejiggering old stuff, just
Mhm.
based off of current events, and that's been fun.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to some of the, like we'll close on this. If what
Mhm.
is what besides the obvious, besides Dune's Day,
Yeah.
what movie coming up here are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, well, I was actually looking back at the beginning of the year when we did our best movies of 2025. We had talked about that. What are we most looking forward to? And I think as of right now, all of those movies have come out that we had talked about, except for Dune. And then I think on my list, I had actually had The End of Oak Street, which we're going to be reviewing
Yeah,
for our next episode. But other than that, okay, the one that I am kind of really interested in, because not only am I interested in the subject matter, but also because of who I found out is doing it, is Tony, the Anthony
yeah,
Bourdain biopic, because I'm really interested in Anthony Bourdain. I've read a lot of his books. And I thought this looked kind of like, it looked like a by the numbers biopic. But then I found out that the guy doing it is actually the dude who did the Blackberry movie.
yeah.
And
And
so,
and Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
yeah. And so that was interesting to me, where I want to see kind of what he comes up with. And so yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, that's the one in like the near future that I'm like, okay, I kind of want to go and see this now because I liked the Blackberry movie so much. But yeah, what about you? What's on
I,
your
I
sort of your number one other than Dune, of course?
it's like I would also like I'll echo Tony. Like when I first saw the trailer for it, I also didn't know that Matt Johnson was the one behind that, and that elevated my interest. But I mean, now that I know it's like coming out and like people are really divisive on it, that means I'm probably gonna love it. But Nicholas Winding Refn's got a new movie, Her Private
Yeah.
Hell, baby. He's
Yeah.
back. You know what I mean? He's been
Mhm.
off making these totally out there and I some would argue misguided streaming series for Amazon. And I'm just happy to see him back in the driver's seat of a of just he's in his wheelhouse again in cinema. He's got I don't even know what the fuck it's about, which is really why I'm interested in it. Like I like me, like something that's in the where the synopsis is difficult. And that's the
Yeah.
case in this movie. I don't even like you could throw up an elevator pitch at me, but that won't describe the experience. And
Hmm.
it's odd because there is a reevaluation happening about Refn post Drive, if you can believe that. There
Hmm.
are like and it's not just low res Wonder Bread pushing it either. Like I'm like seeing discourse on Reddit where people are like, God, he really did just go on a run there, with like Only God Forgives and the Neon Demon, then he just fucked off. But
Hmm.
but now he's back. He's out, like he still might be in director jail, but he's like the Napoleon of crime, detective jail, director
Yeah.
jail, you know what I mean? Like this is a guy who has so offended the critics in the box office that he'll never get to work in this town again. So yeah, now he works out of director's jail where he can do whatever the fuck he wants. He won't hurt
Hmm.
anybody there. And you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I am also excited for that. I much prefer his movie efforts than his TV effort. I like Refn, especially modern day Refn. I mean, there was a period where he was a little bit more around Drive, around like Valhalla Rising, those Bronson, where he was more digestible, I guess is the word I would
oh
use.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
and he's definitely gone, way off the deep end into his own like stylistic, you know, ways. But I like him. I like Refn more in like hour and a half doses than 7 hour long
Oh,
mini series doses. That's so I would agree with you there.
like I watched both of them. I could not tell you or explain what happened in either of them. All I remember about Copenhagen Cowboy at this point is that for no reason whatsoever at the end, Hideo Kojima does a Zoom call.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, looking forward to that one, and looking forward to the rest of the year.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Matt, as always. We'll see you next time.
Yep. See ya.